I felt insanely nervous. This entire situation was beyond my imaginations. Stuck in the demon world under two kinds of enchantments? That was unreal, even for someone like me. Still, we were going to work towards finishing this war and getting me home. We had to do everything we can to keep our focus straight. As Erik and I were escorted to our room, I felt the need to cling to Erik's arm. It had been only a day since I had been taken away from the human world, but for the longest time I had to be enthralled to get close to him. Now I was freely and willingly able to hold onto Erik's arm. Come on, hug Erik's arm tightly. I couldn't help it. I needed to feel closer to him after all of this time. Being separated was not something any bride wanted from their soon-to-be partner. Yeah, we need to be closer to him too, because he's had to deal with our nonsense. I wrapped my arms around Erik's arm, hearing him chuckle and lay his free hand over my arms lovingly.
You know, I wanted to walk down the aisle with you as your husband. I was so worried when you didn't show up to the ceremony.
Yeah, I imagine. My heart sank as I looked down. I hadn't wanted to leave him at the altar, but the Demon Lord had other plans. I gritted my teeth before feeling Erik's lips on my temple, causing me to look back up at him.
I know it wasn't your doing, love. Don't be upset. You weren't gone long.
Not gone long? I had been in the Abyssal Plains for a full day. How was that not long? How long was I missing for? Erik rubbed his neck and looked away, a small blush forming on his cheeks.
Around 5 hours.
5 hours? I was here a full day. How does that work?
Well, time runs differently here than it does in the human world. In the time it takes for an hour to go by in the human world, 5 go by here in the demon world.
My mind spun slightly at the idea. Time moved differently here? I shook my head and let it go. At least I wasn't gone for long in the human world. What happened when you found out that I was missing?
Well, your father was demanding that Sam open a missing persons investigation since he's a police officer. Luckily, James was able to calm everyone down, and with Irides's energy, he blocked everyone's memory and told them to return home and the real wedding would begin later.
Interesting. James can do that?
Only with his wife's help. That gave us time to try to locate you. When we did, we all decided to come through to get you back.
How did you guys do it last time? Because you also erased everyone's memory. Or charmed them, or whatever. I could only imagine what it had been like, all of them huddled in a room trying to find me. I felt a little flattered, but I knew that it was because they all cared about me, the wives included. I was happy that they did and that I was back with Erik at last. Our walk continued until I entered my old room with Erik. Our guide left us alone, needing to prep for the rest of the day. Erik sat on the bed, ushering me to sit beside him. Like a magnet, I was drawn to him, sitting beside him. It was a major relief in my mind to know that everything was going to be taken care of. It was an even larger relief to know that I could be with the man I loved in the meantime. I laid my head on Erik's shoulder as he wrapped an arm around me.
Are you really okay?
I nodded. The only thing that was wrong was me being trapped, but there was nothing I could do until we got to the Demon Lord. Erik seemed to know this as well and kissed over my head.
Well, at least you were no longer disgusted by me.
Erik. I was never disgusted by you. Yeah, like even when she was under control, her feelings were not of disgust. It was just that she couldn't control her body. The feeling of love ran through my body as I settled into the situation. I could finally hold him and love him as I meant to instead of being cruel. It was a blessing. Erik nodded once again before hugging me softly to him, laying us back across the bed. I wrapped my arms unconsciously around him and listened to the rhythm of his breathing. It was slow, relaxed, which made me in turn feel at peace.
We'll get to go home soon.
I know. I closed my eyes, letting our embrace slowly entice me to sleep. It didn't bother me that I was dressed with my boots still on. It was such a peaceful transition I barely felt the shift between being awake and being asleep. I held Erik close to me, listening to his heartbeat. The simple syncopation? Is that how you say it? Never seen that word before. of it filled my own heart with such joy that I could not deny the smile on my face from stretching further. Whatever held me for so long no longer had hold of my mind and my body, allowing my heart to once again guide my actions. As I slept, however, a voice I had not heard in a while reappeared. I knew it was the Orb Child.
Why? Why did you do that?
Huh? Within the darkness of my dreams appeared a familiar purple orb floating in the vast space. I felt once again charmed by it, but I was more confused as to why it was in my dream, and why it had asked me such a question. You.
Why would you do that?
Do what? What are you doing here?
I don't understand.
What are you doing here? I had to repeat myself. The orb didn't move or change, but something about looking at it made me feel unsure. Why was the spirit haunting me?
I don't understand why you like him.
Yeah, I figured it was you that was causing me some issues. Why I like Erik? Wait, was the spirit the reason why I was aggressive to Erik? I glared at the orb, suddenly putting two and two together. You were the one who made me act so cruel toward him?
He's Icky! He's an icky man!
He is not. He's a sweetheart. He's my fiancé. He's the man I love. I loved him dearly and didn't want to treat him like I did. If I was being forced, then I needed to stop the one who was forcing me.
Loving a person doesn't make them less icky.
Huh! How do you figure that? What is so icky about him?
He talks funny. He keeps touching you. He has those...
Sex eyes?
Yeah! He's so icky! Icky!
Oh boy, why don't you go somewhere else then? Because if he turns you off, then you and me are not going to coexist well.
I'm not as disgusting as you make me out to be, Spirit.
Hooray! Erik, you're here! Nice. My heart jumped at the sound of Erik's voice. In front of me appeared a reddish shadow which quickly formed itself into Erik. The orb seemed to pulsate at the sight of him.
Icky man!
My name is Erik, and you are not welcome in my princess's dreams or her body.
You're not either!
Erik! Erik looked back to me and smiled before stepping forward, making the orb back away a bit. I couldn't tell if it was in fear or anger, but the pulsing energy around the orb seemed to become larger at Erik's stare.
My duty is to protect my princess from anything that threatens her. You, rogue spirit, are considered a threat.
All you do is touch her and take her energy.
That's not true.
What else does the icky man do?
I opened my mouth to retort back, but suddenly froze, feeling my thoughts escape me. For some reason, I couldn't remember anything else Erik had done except for what the spirit said. Oh, come on. He would kiss me, hold me, and take my energy. This was wrong. Something was definitely wrong. Why couldn't I pin down more things Erik did for me? I held my head and shut my eyes, trying to focus harder on my thoughts. Erik, however, stepped towards the orb, a group of ethereal tendrils emerging from his back.
That's enough. You don't belong here, spirit.
I expected the spirit to fight back, but it didn't say anything more. After a moment of silence, the spirit faded into the darkness of the dream. Erik and I both let out a small sigh of relief.
Are you okay?
Well, I'm better now. Erik nodded before wrapping his arms around me.
I swear that I will keep you safe.
The words Erik spoke resounded in my chest, making me feel light and believe every word that escaped his lips. I felt safe enough just to hear his determination. Still, I couldn't help but feel a small restlessness in my body, despite being in a dream. Man, this is so different from James's route. It's really interesting. I thought that sleeping would help my anxiousness at the situation I was in, but it only made me more worried. With this new fear in my mind, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to hold out until we defeated the Demon Lord. A spirit was really actually haunting my thoughts. This was insane, to say the least. Still, the spirit was quelled for now, at least until we found a way to expel it from my body. I woke that morning before Erik, physically refreshed but mentally troubled. The events that ran through my dreams both bewildered me and scared me. How long was the spirit going to be stuck to me? A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts and woke Erik.
Who's there?
Sorry, just taking a moment to enjoy the scenery. Moving on.
It's us. We brought food.
Ah.
Can we come in?
Huh? Sure. The thought of food made me relax a bit and forget about the circumstances I was under. The door opened to reveal the other incubi and their wives holding plates of food. James and Iridessa, however, each carried 2 full plates, passing one to me and Erik. I love Iridessa. She's so cute.
Oh, thank you, James.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
You'll never guess who prepared it, though.
Sam. My mind instantly went to Matthew or James. They were usually the ones who made food when they lived in my house. Still, it could have been Damien as well. It was definitely James. But then my mind cycled to the rebel leaders and Diana. We were in their castle as their guests, so it would make sense that they made us food. Looking down at my plate, I noted the selection of food. Fruit slices, bread, cheese, and some form of meat jerky. It seemed native to the demon world, but it was indeed human food. Using process of elimination, I decided that it was probably Diana.
How did you both sleep? Our rooms are on the opposite end of the hall, so we didn't know how you two were doing.
Did you two get to catch up? Eh?
Matthew, you're the worst.
Please, Matthew. They obviously did more than catch up. A bit of Twilight Tango? Sensual salsa? I bet he dipped right in.
Sensual salsa? You guys are the worst.
Well...
Erik and I looked at each other, ignoring Norin's innuendo as we thought of the seriousness of the situation. Did we want to tell them what was going on? Just eat your food. We probably should explain, because we got some issues. I didn't want Erik to be the one to explain. The spirit was in my body, and it was my problem. I motioned for Erik to eat before turning to the group and starting my explanation. Well, there's something we found out last night. I haven't been in control of myself because of something.
What did you find out?
Wait, you're not saying that... Hey, are you pregnant?
Well, that's what the way she worded it, I was like, it comes across as if, like, we just found out that we're pregnant. Hooray. Erik choked. Oh, the poor playboy. I quickly turned my head to see Erik covering his mouth and coughing almost violently, most likely trying not to suffocate on the food in his mouth. He quickly swallowed his food and smiled painfully at the group.
No. She is not pregnant.
Not yet. Erik was right. This was a whole different matter. For a second, I wondered what Erik thought about the question, but more importantly, we needed to let the group know what was going on. We could have the baby talk later.
Is having a child that bad?
Hey. The room around me seemed to freeze as the spirit's voice appeared in the air. I looked around and noticed that everyone, including Erik, was still. What?
The Icky man doesn't think so.
Oh, well, that's intriguing. What do you mean? In the middle of the room, the spirit appeared, making me gasp. It floated over to Erik and spun around his head, making him light up slightly.
Well, if she were pregnant, I'd be able to expand my legacy.
Darn it, Erik! Although I don't really trust the spirit. The spirit could just be making this up. Erik? Was that really what he was thinking? He wanted children to expand? No, this was a trick. I glared at the orb as it finally moved back to the center of the room. You're lying to me. Whatever you're trying to do won't work.
I'm not doing anything. Just look at him.
I did, wanting to prove the spirit wrong. However, my eyes couldn't lie to me. He had a nervous, almost pondering smile on his face, as if he was keeping quiet about his thoughts. Were the thoughts I heard really Erik's? He's probably fine about having kids, but he's just picturing, like, it would be cute to have a little Angel or Erik running around.
He's an icky man.
And you're the worst. So what are we gonna do about the situation? Would you stop saying that?
It's true. He wants to make babies with you. You heard so yourself.
He didn't say that. But, in a way, he did. Expand his legacy? Who says that? Then again, the look on his face couldn't lie to me. The more I gazed into his eyes, the more I could see a form of disappointment. Was I overthinking it? Yeah, because that's all you ever do, Angel.
He keeps touching you and trying to make you feel good. He wants to make you have his babies.
Ew. Alright, shut up. Stop it. I didn't want to hear it. This was something I had to figure out myself. If the spirit was telling the truth, which I doubted, then I would deal with Erik when the time came. However, the primary problem was that the spirit was still inside of my body and able to freeze time, apparently. I looked at the floating orb, seeing it bob up and down in place. So how long do you plan on sticking around?
Sticking around?
How long do you plan on being in my body?
Oh. I don't know.
Oh. It didn't know? I wanted to stand up, but I felt my body stay in its place. I guess in whatever phase the spirit had me in, I could only shift my head but not move from my spot. That only proved that this was in my head. You don't know?
I don't know.
How do you not know?
I just don't. I tried, but I can't get out.
Are you related to Orion by any chance? Although you're much more annoying than Orion is. This was proving to be useless. As childlike and innocent sounding the spirit was, this conversation was obviously going to go nowhere. I lowered my head, closing my eyes.
I was trapped when I died too, you know?
Alright, I'll bite. Huh? I looked up at the spirit, suddenly curious. They were trapped when they died? As the world began to move again around me, the orb vanished without a trace.
We have a different issue. My princess is being haunted by a spirit.
I wonder if that information will come in useful later to get rid of the spirit.
A spirit? But I can't hear its thoughts.
You can't catch everything, Damien.
That doesn't make sense. If a spirit's inside of her body, we would have sensed it.
That's the odd part. There's someone within her, but they are not powerful enough to be pinned down. It's as if...
It's a child.
James, so smart. Yes, how did you know?
Spirits of children are extremely versatile, miss. They are smaller and less noticeable than a regular spirit, but their emotions run just as high, if not higher, making them more powerful.
So a child made you fight Erik?
Yes. It also called Erik the Icky Man.
Well, you were for a long time, dude. You can't deny that.
Oh, come on. Give the guy some slack.
That was before I met my princess.
I looked at Erik as he looked back to me. His eyes were full of love and appreciation as he smiled down at me, making a small blush run across my cheeks. Erik gently lifted his hand and caressed my cheek, making my face warm up at his touch.
You changed me for the better and turned me into a proper man. I would never wish for you to feel that I am disgusting.
Erik. Smooch. Erik was so sweet to think of me. I loved him for everything that he was and is. He was occasionally perverted and seductive now and then, but that was part of the charm I fell for. He was still my Erik. As I kissed his cheek, Erik gasped, and I could feel a quick forming warmth appear on his cheek under my lips. I pulled away and noticed a red tint across his face, but a loving smile still plastered on his expression.
Should we leave? They look like they're ready to make those babies now. Ow!
Knock it off, Matthew.
Thank you, James. Before anyone could laugh, however, another knock appeared at the door. Who is it?
Diana, dear. May I come in?
She's so sweet. No. My goodness, Diana. Sure, come on in. As Diana entered, the room became silent. Her guard, Sarah, followed behind Diana and stepped into the room as well, closing the door for her. He remained by the door as Diana looked at my plate.
Did you not enjoy breakfast? I can make you something else if you'd like.
Oh, so it was Diana who made it. Ah, well, there goes my theory. Huh? I quickly looked down at my plate, realizing that I had barely touched the food. I shook my head and looked up at Diana. No, this is great. We were just talking.
I see.
Thank you for breakfast, by the way.
My pleasure. I'm sorry that it's not much, but it's something to fill the stomach.
It's all good. It's better than that stew that everyone else was eating.
Huh.
We had stew?
We had stew?
Trust me, don't worry about it. You're not missing much.
Indeed. Anyways, I came by to ask you something, dear.
Huh? Ask me what?
What exactly is going on? What was controlling you last night when your husband came around?
Right. Diana still didn't know what happened. Oh, well, we were just talking about that. As I stared at Diana, I felt something inside me grow very happy. Why wouldn't I be? She was feeding us and making sure we were at least comfortable. Hell, she was going to break the curse on me and kill the demon lord. At least I hope she would. It's not like I'm carrying the spirit of her unborn sister. Still, something felt odd about the way I felt. I shook my head and looked to Erik. He nodded and looked at Diana, causing her attention to turn to him.
A rogue spirit has taken refuge in her body.
A spirit?
How? We felt no such.
It's a child, Diana.
A mere child? What kind of child has that much anger and sadness that they can control the human body?
It could only be someone related to you, I guess.
My lady, if I may.
Everyone in the room, myself included, looked to Sarah, who had stepped forward by Diana's side. Diana took a moment to watch Sarah, measuring his intentions, before nodding and stepping back. With a nod, Sarah turned away from her and looked to me. Sarah stepped once more in my direction before bringing his spear up and pointing it at me. What? Whoa!
What are you doing?
Without answer, Sarah continued to stare at me intensely. The spear in his hand began to glow a bright gold and white color, making me that much more concerned.
Sanctus et husexiamentes!
Before anyone could jump at Sarah, the guard leaned forward merely an inch towards me, pressing the spear closer to my body. However, it was stopped by a bright white magic barrier that suddenly formed around my body and the sound of a child screaming. The cry rang violently in my head, causing me to grip my head in pain. Gah!
Princess!
Erik reached for me, but found himself pressing against the shield as well, unable to get close to me. The sharp tip of Sarah's spear pressed against the barrier, causing white ripples to wave from it. Sarah pushed the spear harder, trying to pierce through. The screaming, however, intensified in my head with each push.
What in the seven hells?
Exactly.
I've never seen magic like that before.
I can hear it. The spirit is crying inside her head. It's hurting her.
Damn it!
Sarah finally pulled back and stepped away from me. The glow around his spear vanished, and Sarah looked at Diana. The screaming in my mind stopped at last, and the barrier finally vanished, allowing Erik to wrap his arms around me and pull me close to him.
This spirit is extremely powerful, my lady. Powerful enough to block holy magic.
Of course they are. Why's everything gotta be, like, to the nth degree with Angel when it comes to curses?
That's impossible.
I quivered in Erik's embrace, feeling the after effects of the sudden event hit my body like a wave. My nerves were vibrating and every hair on my body was on edge. My eyes, despite this, looked to Diana and Sarah. Diana looked at me and suddenly glared.
Clever spirit.
Clever spirit? What do you mean?
Look at who the spirit is haunting. She's practically bleeding endless waves of energy. The spirit must be consuming it to survive and use its abilities.
Right, that makes sense. That's why the spirit is angry at Erik, because Erik consumes some of my energy whenever we touch and stuff. Okay. The entire room looked to me, and I could see in their eyes that she was right. Was I really that full of energy? What kind of energy? How did the amount of energy I had affect this?
The spirit is a demon, then?
Only a demon could make a barrier like that.
But a barrier against holy magic?
It's unheard of.
Not necessarily. If a demon is powerful enough, they can block holy magic, but it takes a large amount of energy.
Which I have, apparently.
We have to find another way to expel it. If holy magic won't work, something else will. Spirits can't bind themselves to living bodies forever.
Yeah. We'll get this spirit out one way or another.
Would we? The spirit was powerful enough to fight back against holy magic, which apparently was powerful on its own. I became nervous once again. Erik, feeling me tense up in his arms, gave my body a small squeeze in comfort. I closed my eyes, feeling his warmth slowly but surely calming me down.
Whatever the case may be, I'm sure we've at least weakened it. It shouldn't attempt to control you again, at least for today.
Thank you. Diana ran a hand through her hair and looked around the room, pressing her lips into a fine line.
So, about all of you participating in the war, you all obviously need to train.
Oh, right, that. Everyone nodded in agreement to Diana's statement. While we weren't battle-ready, we still needed to at least know how to defend ourselves. Diana, however, looked to me.
You, most of all.
Huh? Me? I was suddenly confused. How come I was the odd one out that had to be ready the most? The last thing I remembered about me training was that Diana was against the idea altogether. Diana rubbed her temple.
Apparently, there are guidelines to breaking this curse. Not only do we have to kill the Demon Lord, but you have to be nearby when it happens for the curse to even break.
Oh, right, we've done this before. I can skip a little bit. Okay. What would the others teach me? Because I want to get to Shadow. Okay, I can't even choose her on this one. Interesting. I choose Shadow, then. Diana nodded. Shadow seemed very intelligent and knew the ins and outs of being sneaky and dodgy. It would definitely help in battle not to get hit and maybe take enemies by surprise. With that, Diana turned on her heel and left the room.
Finish eating. Afterwards, you should start training.
Cool. Everyone in the room nodded their affirmation as Diana and Sarah left.
Well, it looks like we'll be busy for the next couple of days.
This'll be fun.
Man, training's gonna suck.
It'll be worth it, though.
Damien's right.
As we all finished eating, everyone left to either train or do things on their own. I left to start my own work, determined to be prepared for what was to come. The Demon Lord wasn't going to win. I wouldn't let him.